WWE Day of Reckoning comes at a very transitional time for me. With WCW and ECW gone for a few years now, WWE's product was starting to get a little stale, partly due to the lack of competition. Wrestlers I grew up watching were starting to retire left and right, and newcomers were spreading like wildfire. Nevertheless, the Wrestlemania series on the GameCube had two fairly successful titles already, and the next one was set to drop in the summer of 2004. This is WWE Day of Reckoning for the Nintendo GameCube. The game opens up with an intro featuring commentary and in-game footage. This kind of brings me back to the THQ wrestling titles on the N64. I've always liked the intros where they implement the in-game graphics.
Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. WWE Day of Reckoning.
Like I mentioned in my opening, this is right around the time that the WWE roster started to decline a little bit in my opinion. There are still a lot of greats here like Taker, Triple H, Rock, Guerrero, Flair, Angle, but this roster is still pretty skimpy when compared to what the company had to offer in years past. There aren't a whole lot of divas here to choose from. Actually, there's only 4. No Lita, no Tori Wilson. But we do get a few legends, Bret Hart being one of them, and he actually has the highest stats of anybody on the entire roster. Kurt Angle is right behind him in the second spot. The legends don't have accurate entrance themes, but instead feature music from the game's soundtrack. Some people are missing due to departures months earlier, like Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and Austin, and some people are just plain missing, like the Dudleys and JBL. My biggest complaint here is no alternate attires. Not one, which drives me crazy. We just came from a game that featured alternate attires for every single wrestler, and now nobody has one. And I hate backwards progress in video games. The game features more arenas than ever to choose from, and they all look really good, from Raw and SmackDown to pay-per-views and even a house show event to choose from. The entrances are finally fully animated from front to back, which means no more generic walking animation followed up by a stage taunt, which strangely transitions back into a stiff walking animation. These entrances flow like they never have before in the series, but they still don't feature any ring announcers. Damn these mini discs. And while we're on the subject of limitations, Eddie Guerrero makes his way to the ring lowriderless. Gameplay here is pretty much exactly what we saw in WrestleMania 19, but the first thing that grabs my attention is the extremely loud in-game music. Not a huge deal, but I did have to go into the options menu to turn it down. That being said, the game does feature a pretty good soundtrack with songs by Public Enemy and Breaking Benjamin. The game still runs on the engine that loosely resembles that of the N64 THQ titles, and it works just as good here as it has in the past few games. The control scheme makes it pretty easy to pick up and play no matter who you are. Even on the awkward GameCube controller, it feels very functional. The main difference in gameplay would be the addition of the momentum shift, which allows a player an aggressive burst of energy to attack their opponent in a moment of despair. Visually, this game takes a pretty big leap. The wrestler models look larger and a lot more detailed, more similar to what we'd been seeing in the SmackDown series on the PS2. The camera angles also do a lot to help present the game more like a television broadcast, despite the lack of commentary. Winning animations would be a small complaint from me here. Not only are they very generic, but sometimes they just don't make sense, like winning a cage match by climbing out and then just appearing back in the cage to celebrate your win. Day of Reckoning features just about any match type you could ask for at the time. Hell in a Cell is still a favorite of mine and still features all the fun activities we've grown to love over the years, like breaking ringside tables and plowing through the top of the cell. Other match types, like ladder, are fun, but sometimes frustrating due to animations that can be interrupted at... Where'd my ladder go? Hardcore matches here, but something's just missing. Oh, that's right, no backstage areas. Even though they were pretty much promised during development, we still didn't get any here. Bra and Panties match is new to the series and plays just like it did in Here Comes the Pain. The objective of the match is to strip your opponent down to her underwear, but this does require you to damage and fatigue the enemy a bit before the match can be won. The biggest complaint people had with Wrestlemania 19 was the inclusion of the Revenge mode over a career mode. Well, need not worry anymore, for we have a story mode, and it's actually a good one. You start off as a rookie trying to make your way through the ranks, starting off wrestling house shows and ultimately getting a World Championship title shot at Wrestlemania. If you select your brand as SmackDown, you'll end up joining the new ministry led by The Undertaker. Selecting Raw will have you wrestling as a member of Evolution. As you progress, you'll earn attribute points which you'll need to build up your created wrestler in order to become competitive enough to win that WrestleMania title shot. The cutscenes look pretty good, but again, we don't get any commentary here. Instead, we just get music from the game's soundtrack playing. This is definitely what we've been wanting as far as a career mode goes, and it's great to finally see it come forth after a few games without it. You'll earn cash throughout the story mode, which you can blow in the shop zone. Here you can purchase items like movesets, arenas, and items that can be used in Create a Wrestler mode. Wrestlemania 19 featured a very expansive Create a Wrestler mode, and it returns here in Day of Reckoning. There are plenty of options to create just about anybody you want, though there is still quite a visual difference between created wrestlers and the in-game roster. Maybe even more in this game due to the better looking in-game models, but that never stopped me from going create crazy here. I spent a lot of time in this create mode when I first got this game. Wrestlemania 18 was a decent game. 19 fixed a lot of issues and had an incredible roster. Day of Reckoning takes the series to an all-new level with its high-detailed visuals, polished gameplay, and in-depth story mode. The only real complaint I could dish up would be a lackluster roster, but honestly, everything else this game has to offer up just makes up for it tenfold. This is a really good game, and you really should check it out if you haven't already.